Hey guys, good morning. Happy Friday. Another rainy day here in Virginia. Been getting a lot of rain. It's been a rainy fall. And I'm definitely a sun worshiper. But speaking of sun worshiper, it's all mindset. Everything you do is a mindset. And even though it rained this morning, I went out and ran my 3 miles at 6 a.m. in the rain. Not because I enjoy running in the rain, although I do enjoy running. I wouldn't go out and run 10 miles, and I don't think you need to run 10 miles. But running 3 miles, 2 or 3 miles, or doing something every morning, for me, gets my mindset going. Right? People, you can also meditate in the morning. You can journal. I mean, all these things. Every morning when you wake up, you should do something to get into the right mindset for that day. That's really what it's all about. It's all mindset. It really is. And Henry Ford used to say that if you think you can do it, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, you can't do it. So everything's mindset. It's really the old adage of set your mind to it. Whatever you set your mind to. And again, the fine print is, I always like to say, being an immigrant in the U.S. is, a lot of that truth is here in the U.S., where it's still a country where you have all those opportunities, where you can do things that you set your mind to still today. And so I think it's important for me to point that out. Not to say that America is the only country in the world that you can set your mind to something and achieving. There's obviously a lot of other countries in the world that there are opportunities, but unfortunately they're not the majority. A lot of countries you can set your mind to as hard as you want. Let's just say, I guess I'm just thinking of an example. Just say North Korea. This probably is an extreme example, and unfortunately those folks I don't think know the difference between the two. But let's say you did set your mind, you want to change something. Well, you're probably going to end up in a jail or in a body bag if you want to set your mind to doing something different than the status quo. But you know what I mean. We live in a country in the U.S. where pretty much whatever you set your mind to, and guys like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, are great examples that whatever it is that you want to do. I like to focus especially on Elon Musk just because spaceships and electric cars. I mean, on the spectrum of businesses and hard to execute, there's really not many other businesses are going to be as hard to execute as an electric car company and a rocket ship company at the same time. So I think that's probably one of the extremes, at least that's current and what we see in the media. And he's doing it in the U.S., right? And he set his mind to it with his team. The other thing is mindset, right? When you have the right mindset, it also recruits the right folks to come and work with you. Because if you're negative, or if you're Debbie Downer every day, or who's going to want to come work with you for you? Not the right people, not the talented people. Talented people want to follow passion, want to follow a big mission, something that they feel they can help move forward and use their talents to do so. And again, having the right mindset. So, getting that right mindset is waking up early. And it took me, I used to work out. I mean, I pretty much worked out all the time, but I used to work out more in the evenings before I had kids. And one thing I'm thankful for, well, the many things of having kids, is when I had to kind of rework my routine. Obviously in the evening, I want to spend my time with the family. And so even though I would still wake up early before and work out in the afternoon, I switched more to working out in the morning. And I have to say it's been really great, and it's giving me the energy to go out and do what I need to do that day, and the right mindset and the right positive energy. And so I can't recommend it enough. And again, I just always say, just do something. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to train for a marathon. You don't have to go run 10 miles. You can if you want. I like to make the argument, depending on how you're physically built, that's a lot of wear and tear. I'm 6'5", I have a pretty strong skeletal structure that all that pounding of doing 10 miles, I think it's physically not good for me. And so doing 2 or 3 miles is plenty for me. I mean, 4 at most. And on days where I don't feel like running, or let's say I wake up one morning early and I just feel like I don't feel like doing anything. Well, at least I'm gonna stretch, do some stretching, then do some light weightlifting, dumbbells, just something, just to get the blood flow going. And again, and even just walking. If you just wanted to go out early and just walk a little bit, just the goal here, right, is to get movement so you can get into the right mindset. And then journaling's a great way as well. I've done journaling in the past. I should do more of it. I think I call it, kind of my conclusion to journaling is they're windshield wipers to life, right? There's things that kind of, ideas, thoughts, experiences that get stuck in your head that when you're able to put them down on paper, they kind of flow. And meditation's also a great way to do that, to that kind of the water flow. And you're seeing a lot more and more public figures coming out and talking about the power of meditation in their life. So all those things, whatever, and you can rotate, right? One morning you can journal, another you can meditate, the other, I would still throw in at least walking. You need movement, right? And even throughout the day, you need to move, right? We're designed to move. So, when I'm working during the day, probably every hour and a half of just sitting there and working on, contracts or emails or whatever it is, phone calls, I like to get up and just go, even if it's just for 2 or 3 minute walk or something, just to move, just to keep the blood going. And even some of the calls, I just kind of walk around the office. So you need to have movement. Movement is extremely important, and that's how we're wired, right? We're fighting Mother Nature to sit behind a desk all day, and especially, and again, this is where I never thought the day would come that I'd sound like the old guy, but this is why I sound like the old guy, where when I started working, email has just started to come out. And so before then, right, I remember in college interning in brokerage, real estate brokerage, commercial brokerage, where being the intern, we'd have 3 or 4 fax machines, and probably a lot of people get tuned in and say, what's a fax machine? The device that you essentially fax means that you basically take the paper and you dial a number and it scans it in to send it to somebody else's fax machine somewhere else. And that was the early ways of communicating electronically. But before then, right, we were talking. And I think, I was on the phone all day, being a broker, being on the phone all day, going to meet with people. And today it's hard to get people on the phone. I mean, yesterday I called a listing on a piece of land that we're looking at for one of our projects, and I called both of the brokers that were on the listing. Neither of them picked up, and neither of them called back that same day, and neither of them still called. And I even sent an email, or replied to an email. When I started real estate brokerage, that would have never happened. I'm not saying every single person picked up, but especially when you're a broker, you were picking up that phone, because picking up that phone meant doing a deal. You couldn't rely on texting or email, and everybody wants to do deals now and text and emails and drive. They think they're driving efficiencies, but sometimes I really, really argue that point, because sometimes picking up the phone and a couple minute conversation can solve and move a deal ahead, where you'd take it 2 weeks of emails back and forth and would have accomplished the same thing. So don't forget that we are still a descendant of the caveman, right? So obviously we've evolved, but the hardware that's in here, a lot of the instincts that we have, the natural instincts that we have, is pretty much a couple versions better than a caveman brain. So you're still dealing with a lot of the hardware issues that we have, right? So meaning you need to, and they're not issues, but you need to walk, you need to talk, you need to interact. You can't spend all your time on social media. That's why we're seeing all these issues, with the teenagers today. We've never had such high suicidal rate among teenagers, and it's just so sad, because a lot of them haven't learned how to communicate, right? They've lived their whole life, their whole childhood has been with smartphones and social media and texting their friends, and not physically as much being there with their friends, or even picking up the phone. I remember in the old days, you pick up the phone and call your friend, and the parent would pick up, and they'd be the gatekeeper, and you'd be like, can I talk to to so and so, and so that gave you those skills to communicate. You had to communicate with adults. You had to communicate with others, and I just think that is a better way to be mentally healthy. So, and you guys read about this stuff in the news. I'm not saying anything new here, but just make sure your mindset is right, because especially being an entrepreneur, it's like being an athlete, right? Except you have no days off. It's being a mentally strong athlete, because you got to go at it day in, day out, day after day. Have a series. You can have a series of weeks or months or even years that go really bad, and then that 1 week goes great, and the whole business is completely different. Sometimes it comes down to that one meeting, that one phone call that took a couple years to get to, and the media doesn't talk about that. Not many people talks about that, but that's the grind. That's the hustle of being an entrepreneur, and you need to have the right mindset. You need to be physically and mentally fit, and they go together, right? Because a brain is part of your body, and to have a physically fit brain, you need to have a physically fit body. And so make sure that you put as much focus on that as you do as everything else, because a lot of people don't, and then what happens is you break down. You just do. I mean, the human body can only take so much, and it's going to fight back. So if you don't empower it with the right tools, if you don't give it the right nourishment, or the right mindset, the working out, all these things, you're just asking for trouble down the road. And so make that part of your, start now. The younger you started, the better. The other thing I like to remind people is it takes 90 days. A lot of studies have been done. It takes 90 days to basically learn a new behavior, right? Make something really part of your new return, a new behavior learned. And so for the next 90 days, wake up early in the morning, do something, and what you'll see is they'll become part of you, and then you'll get to the point where your body will want that. Like I just naturally wake up. I mean, I think naturally I've always been that way, but even more so doing this, I just naturally wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go, and my body's ready to do some working out and get the day going, and so you'd be amazed what the human mind can do. Just like me learning to fly as I turned 40, and it was always a dream of mine, and there was a gift from COVID that was one of them. Not many of them, but that was one of them where I had the time. Things that slowed down in business, I had the time to focus, but to have the mindset to become a pilot, right? To be able to learn something new, right? It's a new behavior, right? Here I am at 40, learning something completely new. And even though I've raced cars before, motorcycle, ski, I mean, sports pretty coordinated. Flying an airplane is a whole different ballgame, and managing radios and managing the weather and the airplane, and it's a lot. And especially learning that later in life, but it shows you that it's possible, that if you work at it every day, it becomes part of your routine, and now it's kind of like driving a car. Just jump in and go, and my body and my mind is ready for it, and you can get up to that speed. So have the right mindset. Take good care of yourself. Sleep's obviously important. Make sure you get the right amount of sleep. Everybody has everybody's clock's different. Some people can do 6 hours and function really well. I mean, the studies, everybody says 8 hours. For me, I can't sleep more than 8 hours. I mean, my sweet spot's 6.5, 7 hours. Less than 6, it's gonna be a hard day, and I just can't sleep more than 8. Even when I was younger, if I would kind of go party with friends until 2 in the morning, I'd be up at 9. I could never. My body just, I don't know, just can't sleep more than 8 hours. So just figure out what your body needs, and make sure you get enough sleep because without the sleep, that's another recipe for disaster. And all these energy drinks, all these things, I mean, it's really wellness, right? Wellness is a big component of being an entrepreneur. You want to be physically and mentally strong. So hope you guys have a great weekend, and appreciate you tuning in. And as always, please ask questions and comment and like and subscribe, and that will get the conversation going. Thanks you.